In this video recorded during the Dublin chapter meeting, our demonstrator, Kieran Reynolds from the Cueva Cúil Díog chapter, works with spheres, showing how to turn them, and some projects that utilize spheres, including a Cooksa cup from Scandinavia.
So yeah, anybody who doesn't know me, most of you know me at this stage. My name is Kieran Reynolds and I'm coming from Cueva Cúil Díog, so I had to get my visa sorted to get over here this morning to cross the Liffey, but they let me over anyway, which is good. So what I'm doing this morning is I'm going to be I've been kind of playing around, so my official name is Playing with Spheres. My unofficial name is It's a Load of Me Balls, and that's what I'm going to be doing. So I'm going to go through making spheres. You've probably done that before. I'm not going to be using a jig. It's going to be done by hand, and I'm going to just show you some few tricks and tips on how to do that. And then what I'm going to do is, when I have the sphere, yes, it's a gorgeous bit of wood. It's definitely round and brown. That's all it is. It's round in every angle. But what you can do with the sphere then to change, to up the game or to play around with it, to have, and that's what I'm saying about playing with spheres. So that's what I'm going to do today. So I'm going to be working with a bit of oak. The handiest kind of size is 100 by 100, 4 inches by 4 inches. I got this out of Strahans. Strahans they have a load of this, it's native oak, which is lovely to get. A little bit expensive, I think, for the 2400, so the 8-foot length is, I think, about €80. But if you can make, we'd say, 10 spheres out of that, that brings down, you know, because if you are going to be selling them or you are giving them a gift, they're definitely worth €8 each. So it's not bad if you count it that way. Yes, I know we all want to work with stuff that's free, but to get kiln-dried native oak, you have to pay that a little bit extra, so that's what I've got here. So 4x4 oak, and we're going to get going on it. So what I've got is, I've made it so it's 4x4, but I've made the length of it about 140 millimeters. So about, what, 5 inches long, a little bit over 5 inches long. Just your usual crisscross on either side. Sorry, you need to get the old glasses on. At home, I would wear a full mask. I have my what do you call it? My respirator, my battery-powered respirator, and it's got a full visor on it. But in here, obviously, I'm going to just use this, so you can hear me sing. You can hear my voice at least, and I'm not echoing. So I'm using a step center. It's just handy because I'm not going to be really going through the wood. So just a step center does the job. And then just live center at the back, at the tail. Line it up. Give it a good tightening because the stem, you want, there's so many little teeth, but it's not going in very deep. So you need to go in, and every so often, just give it a little bit of a pull just to get it, push it back in again. Especially if you do get a catch, it'll just run. Take your tool rest, make sure you've got your, nothing's hitting it, and we're ready for action. I always turn down the speed first, and then work my way forward, and I always know then what speed I'm going at. And I'm just going to use my very rarely used rough and gouge. I don't use this a whole lot, so this is as old as me nearly, and it's just because I only use it for some small jobs or odd jobs. So just take it out. I would have my tool rest lower than the height or the center of the feet, and just have. And I'm able to get through it then at an angle up. As I'm getting closer, I'm just going to bring my tool rest in a little bit, and I can rise it a little bit again. And then I can get the speed up a lot more as well because I have more balance. a bit of a dump. That's fairly round. I still have a flat spot on it, so I'm just going to clean that up. So this is where I can look for my skew and put it as far away as possible, because I hate skew work. Skew to me is the devil's tools. Anybody who can use a skew, fair play to you. I hate the thing. So what I've started doing is I use my bowl gouge. I have two different bowl gouges with a long grind, and I'll use that then to do a shear cut. So if you can see where the angle is down low, and I'm going to just use it almost like a skew, get that point and run along. And my little finger is inside, if you got that camera there, just on this one, my finger is in here, just inside the little dip on my tool rest. And that means I know that it's the same distance, so almost working like the skew, I can get that exact same cut. But without the catches, which I would definitely get with the skew chisel. So that's a lot easier for me. I always find that I'm just not a fan of the skew, and maybe it's just because I don't do enough spindle turning to think and to be confident enough on it. And all I'm looking for is just to have an even surface. Just perfectly perpendicular, or sorry, parallel. So I've got a clean cut. Still a little bit more to take off, and just there you can see in my camera, on the top camera, there's just a mark there, still on the rough. So I just need to clean that off. And that's pretty clean. Parting tool, and I'm just going to square off this here. I'm going to go in as much as I can. Now, for the sphere, I'm going to be turning this into a square. So in other words, the diameter and the length of it is going to be the same. But what I want to do, I have to make sure that this is pretty close. So I'm going to have to just use a ruler, and just to see that there's no, I'm not going inside, I'm not giving it concave, I'm not giving it a convex, that I'm going to have it fairly straight. So it's pretty close. I just need a little bit in the middle, just on the inside. Also, if you can see my, so again on the top, can you see that my grind? There's a slight angle on my parting tool. So it's higher on one end than the other. Can you see that? Bring it back a bit. Are we there? And can you see there that there's a slight angle on it? So what that means then is I can get that cut on the inside. When I'm doing it over this side, I can get it here. That's a great idea if you're doing something like Christmas trees or something, you know, where you're leaving the trunk, but you do want to go concave, you do want to go inwards. So you get that little bit of a bite, and the straight edge is still, it's at an angle. So it just works very well for me for that. So it's just a handy thing to have it that way when you are grinding. And I've got just that nib or that little nub small enough because when I go down to make my circle, to make my sphere, but it's still not going to be so small that my tailstock is going to split it too early. I don't want to do that. So that's on one side, and then on the other side then, I'm just going to make myself a tenon, a spigot tenon. So go down, just level it off first. So I'm using 35mm jaws. So I've just got one of my bow-legged calipers just at that size. It's just small enough that the jaws, it'll go around the jaws. Good to go. That's it. Now, so like I said, I have my diameter now. I need to get it, the length of it now to be the same as my diameter. So I'm going to use, again, bow-legged calipers. I have these set for the spigot, so I'll just go with this one. So just need to open it out to whatever size it's going to be. So if that's the diameter, and I do it around where I'm guessing to be around the middle of the sphere, and then just have the calipers there, and that marked. That's my mark. So that width, diameter is exactly the same. So I can get rid of this, I can bring that right down so it's out of my way. So I'll just go with my parting tool first. And then just eat out the waste as much as I can. Now I want the shoulder left here, so when I do put in my jaws, I'll have the shoulder then to pull off it. There's a bit of movement on that, so I'll just clean that up a bit. And again, like I have this square, I want to have this side square as well. And go in a bit. Nice and small. Get my ruler. See, yeah, that looks okay. So again, there's no movement, there's no concave, there's no convex. And just clean up again, just get rid of all the waste that I don't need. Just using the spinning guard now, just gets into my corner a little bit better. So, I'm ready now to get myself start working on it, on the sphere. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to find halfway. I need to find a halfway line. So it is 90, so half of 90 is 45. So just mark my 45. and that's the center. Then what I want to do is I want to turn, so when I was doing, so I teach, I'm a woodwork teacher, I'm a tech graphics teacher. When I'm teaching tech graphics, we're teaching about, we're using circles, we're using polygons, so hexagons, octagons, all of that. I want to turn this square into a hexagon, so six-sided. Some people, if they're making spheres, they just go 45 degrees, kind of halfway here, halfway here. But actually, if you draw a hexagon and you find how far in, so if you draw a 100mm hexagon and where the two lines come down, if you measure from the corner to where it meets, so if you can see my pencil like that, from there to there on 100mm is 29, or just a little bit over 29. So what that means is, for me, that's 90mm diameter, so you multiply the diameter by 0.29. So if I get 90mm, just get out we all have our calculators now on our phones, so we don't have to go looking for my child's school bag and find it. Calculator, so 90 multiplied by 0.29 is 26.1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure in, I'm not going to go 26.1, I can't find 0.1. It doesn't matter, you round down. And so if I go in 26mm here, 26mm here, and then do the same over here, now I can do that 45-degree cut, and I'm already on that. A circle, again, if you ever go on a computer, if you're using like CAD, computer-aided design, and you're drawing a circle, you zoom in on the line of that circle. A circle is actually just a series of straight lines. So that's what technically a circle is. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a series of straight lines until we get it where now we can go into the full round. So we're starting off with straight lines. So use now inside calipers, measure 26. So can you see that on the, so I'm just measuring 26. I always start at 10 or 100mm because that's my zero rather than starting on the end. I just start at 10, that's my zero, get me 26. That's 26 there. So, I'm just going to set one of the teeth, or one of the points there, and mark in. Do the same over here. And then over here, do the same at the end. And then over this side. Get my pencil. So there, 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 there's that point. Yep, all right. There. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to get rid of this. So it's just using your spinning gouge or your bowl gouge, whichever you're more comfortable with. That, same over here. I'm just going to shear scrape a little bit just to get that straight. And the same there. Just to clean it up a bit. And that will do. So next job. Again, we're going with a series of straight lines. I'm going to find half of that. You can use your ruler, but we're all doing so much measuring and so much gauging you should be able to kind of find halfway. So I've got halfway. So if you get that there to there is about the same as there to there. So if I get half of that, half of that, half of that, half of that. Do the same over here. There and in here. Here and inside here. So I've got a load of lines. Now I'm going to start taking lines out of it. So I'm going to take this much out and this one. So can you see that? And then I'm going to take this corner and this corner. So it's all just taking out straight lines. I'm going to move my tool rest around just so I can catch that, because I want to take this coloured part here and I want to get nice and close. I'm using now just the spindle gouge on this because it's a lot more fine cuts. And now I take out this one. Tool rest around the other side. Same thing. Take out these two. That one and that one. Now, I've created now long lines again, so if I take half of that, same there, and now I start taking off again. Now at this stage, I can do the straights, or I can start working on just scraping off to get that corner. Bringing this one around. Bringing this one around. And now you can see I'm starting to get around. I need to bring in here a bit, because don't forget, that's the tip of the circle there. This will be the tip or the apex of the circle. So I need to go in a bit more here. We can do this again later on. But I am taking a bit of that. And the same here. So I'm just using the edge, the long grinder on the gouge, and just scrape along. And you can see I'm kind of leaving the middle. There'll be a flat spot in the middle, and we'll get that again now in a few minutes. So already, at the moment, I've kind of got a potato. So what I'm going to do is work on that. So I'm going to get it into the vice, or sorry, into the jaws, into the chuck. And it means then that I only have one end then that's going to be left with wood, with an end. And this I can get rid of. So I'm just going to get just ordinary jaws, so 50mm jaws. Or sorry, no, it's the 35mm jaws. So it's the smaller jaws I'm using. And that should be able to get that spigot. That was an old chuck that was on an old record, so it's got a tiny little thread on it. So that's what this is here, is that's just a fitting to make so it can keep that chuck, because nobody has, very few people have the old record with the small jaws. So just keeping the chuck alive, because the chuck is fine. It was just didn't fit the modern lathes. So I'm ready there with that. That's held. I'm going to put back in just for a couple of minutes. I'm going to put that back in. Now I can start again. And use just a longer grind on a ball gouge. And a lot of this now is just by eye. You're working on it by eye, and you're getting that curve on it, that it looks circular. I can start getting rid of this little bobble here, this little piece. So that's where I'm using the skew. So I'm using the skew on a vertical and just get rid of that bobble. I can get rid of my tailstock now at this stage. So at this stage, I'm doing a lot of scraping. And I'm tending to look at the horizon of the shape to get that shape. So this is where now I show you a couple of the little tricks of what I found works really, really well. So if you look at that really close, I've got a flat spot still in the middle because I wanted to keep that middle just to see where I was and that everything is coming from there. I've got a bump there I can see, I've got an indent there, I've still got the bump there. So it's getting that. How do I do that with the small? Because I'm walking and I'm trying to get around and it's very hard. So I went and I found a very, very expensive piece of equipment called a paint scraper. And this is a very well-known one called Dosco. It's about €3 in the range. And what I did with it is I get one of these diamond plates, bit of water. If you don't have water, Joe O'Neill, bit of tung oil, spit on it, works well, and just pull it at an angle. Wait, so you're getting that little burr. So you pull it only in one direction, and you get a burr on it. And then, like anybody here ever do furniture scraping with a furniture scraper? So they cost money. Why would you do that when this does the same thing? And this one, in fact, the fact that it's not as stiff, it will work. So if I need to do that, into it. And you can see that angel hairs as they call it. A light burr. I still have a bobble on it, so the next thing I'm going to use, the same thing to scrape, is I got these old hole saws that were gone. What happened was they were all perfect, but I lost that bit there that goes into your drill. So what I did was I ground down the hole saw so it's completely flat. Can you see that? Yeah, and same, so just two different sizes, no reason except they were in a pack. Then, same thing, bit of a scrape, on with the lathe, and down onto it. And what you've got now is that takes away all of these kind of divots, bumps, And because it's going into circles, so you can see there, it's only taken off a little bit all the time, but I'm getting that rounded shape that, you know, because it's a full circle, and that full circle is creating this, it's touching the surface. So I'm getting that circle, that rounded into it. So that's where this is a little bit at the end here. I can get rid of that. So with a bigger one if you really need to. And you can actually feel that little bump just coming off. It's just taking it away nicely. It doesn't matter where the burr is on this, if it's on the outside or the inside, because you're taking it anyway. So there'll be a bit more now to do over here, so I'm going to get rid of that now. So I'm going to change that up. I get rid of my tail now, so back at my tool rest. Just cut that off with a little saw. Yeah, so I want to now get rid of this bump, and there still will be probably a little bit of out of shape over here. So now I'm going to use little jaws that I made for this job. So, any questions so far? No?
Do you ever use a jig pre-made cutout, like a bit of plywood?
Yeah, and I use that, I will use that again, but I don't really need it for this. It actually comes out pretty well with it. So what I've made is I've made myself a set of jaws for a sphere, and all it is just, that's a little, a ring washer. I got that in B&Q or somewhere like that, and just glued it in, and then I have this concave out of there. So can you see that? Okay, so that just goes into my jaws.
Do you sleep at night, Kieran?
Do I sleep at night? Sometimes. It's that waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning and it's going, oh, I have an idea. And that does happen, let me tell you. So all of my handmade kind of jam chucks and everything else, I always mark number 1. You can see there on there. I always mark just where number 1. And what that does is that lines up with number 1 of on the jaw there. And it just means then I know it will fall into place, because as I'm using and using and using, you'll always find where the gap is in the jaws, there's going to be a little rise and there's going to be a little bite in there. So rather than it moving and wearing, it goes into the same place every time. So I always mark any of my homemade jam chucks. I do that where it'll fall into place then. And even when I'm turning like a hollow form or something where I have to flip it, put it back, even a bowl where I'm putting it back, I'd always just put a little marker on where number 1 is, so when I am putting it back on again, it'll fall into the same place again, because sometimes you do get that bit of movement. So I have that one on that end.
Kieran, that ring you said, it's a rubber ring, is it?
Yeah, it's a rubber circular ring. It's just, and all that does is that will just protect the piece.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And then the other one, then the tail. I just made that to fit onto a live centre. And so that's all it is. Now the live centre I have now on this one, it won't come out because it's so long and it's shrunk onto it. That's just a flat live centre. Yeah, it's that. Okay? And all I did then was I made my jam chuck for that. Where did I get this? That is very expensive from a very famous Chinese company, Temu. And that was like 14 euros, and I bought that a year ago, and it's still absolutely brand new. There's a lovely movement on it. There's no grind or anything like that. So really worth. And then finding that it does that, I can make a little jam chuck, whatever size jam chuck I want, just fitting onto that, which is what I did with this here. I just made a little cup, fit it into it, and then it's got the flat spot. I think I bought that one off Simon Hope. It's one of Paul Howard's little inventions. But to be honest, there you go. TMU had it all along for 12 euros or something like that, or 14 euros. It's very cheap, and it does 2 or 3 jobs, which is great. So that's all I've got. I've got that set up there. Bring in my tail. Now there's a bit of messing to do with here with lining it up. I can have it dead on square, or I can have it kind of moved over a little bit. But what I do want to do is I want to check, so I know that this is perfectly circular here. That was where I was working already. So where the center was. And I'm just going to go with my finger and see, because I'll never sit it into these cups like straight away, perfect. So what I need to do is I just see. So it comes back, so I just bring it forward a little bit there. So you can see with my finger, it's almost like I'm just gauging where, now that's more of a bobble than that it's off center. That looks okay. We'll be doing a bit of messing with it anyway. So that's ready to go again. So I can just get rid of the bump first. And again, back to my scraper. So drop the tool rest. Mess around with these a bit. Good. So now just move around the piece a little bit in the chuck, or in between the centers. Again, double check, right, there's a movement coming towards me there, so push it back a little bit. That looks okay.
And how's your end grain looking there now?
How's my end grain? It's fine, yeah, as in, is there much pull on it? No, not too much at all. Because it's that kind of, you're just taking dust off it, you're just taking kind of the hairs off it rather than. And all you're doing now is you're just taking those any bumps that might come off it. Movement again. So just move it again. So you can see it's not bad, like even the finish isn't bad. I don't even need a whole lot of sanding on it. So you see that there is a bit of messing just to get it right. That looks right now again. And it's just, again, cleaning up.
If you had bigger cups in the centre level.
I don't know, because I find even sometimes the smaller one, because that will get, if there is some sort of a divot or something like that, the smaller cup will catch it.
No, the cups on the
Oh, on these?
Yes.
But, yeah, but then I don't have enough. I don't have enough movement then, because I've lost a lot of the circle then, so I'm only going to be working on a smaller area. So, like, it's pretty close now that it is. I just see one little rise there now, but it looks okay. Just there. You can see there's dust coming out of it, but it's not bad. Like for a handmade sphere, and again, if you spend, I could spend like maybe 20 minutes doing that. I'm not going to spend 20 minutes doing it, but it's not bad. I'll just, you can pass that around now. Sometimes you just want to leave. You don't want to mess around. There's the sphere, gorgeous bit of view. There's a bit of burr you. Can you see that there? And like, you don't want to do anything to that. See, I'm going to have to get in some spray paint on that. I'll tell you about that later. So, but you don't want to mess around with the wood because it's gorgeous. Like there, look at the burr and that. And again, what would you do with a piece of wood that size? Make a tea light holder, you'd lose half the burr. I don't know what you do with something that size. So making something like this, you've got something ornamental. As I mentioned to you, I'm a teacher in school. We would have a lot of kids with autism in school, and I've made lots and lots of these to give to them. They're brilliant for kids just kind of as a therapy, just to hold it, feel it, and they're holding something natural. They're holding something that they can look at. No matter what angle you look at, you're looking at something different. You're looking at something, you know, there's a different facet to it. There's a different shape. There's a crack in it. How did that happen, you know? And like kids, they just love that kind of feeling to it. So that's a piece there that I've oiled as well, because I'm not going to mess with that. I think that's just, as an ornament, to put that onto a little cup, and just, it's something to see, it's something to behold, and it's something beautiful. So it's nice to do that. But then there are other pieces of wood where they're just plain. There's nothing to them. I mean, that's a lovely bit of you, but I'd like to mess around with it. I'd like to just kind of add to it a little bit. So this is where I started looking at playing with spheres. So what can you do with it? I can make kind of grooves into it, have them at different angles. And this is the great thing about these cups, is I can do that. I'm going to use a bit of the oak that I had done. Just stick that in. So I will keep maybe that, I'll show you that again. So I'm going to go at an angle. See, is it sitting in? That seems to be sitting in well. So these are ideas that I've got. There's a guy on, I don't know, he's from the States, Christian Burchard or something like that. And he's done this where he's kind of messed around with it. So all I'm doing is just with my spindle gouge. Sorry, there is a bubble on that. Just do a series of grooves. So 4 little grooves on it. I'll just make one of them a bit bigger. This is where we all are going, oh, I wish I had my 20-year-old eyes again, that I can see stuff going on. So just do that, now move it around a little bit. So 4 on that one. There's a big bottle on that, so I'm going to just check that. So, going that way. So again, like that, you're lining it up to get it right. Nearly there. It's going to move the other way now. That's it. There's a bit of a bump on it, but it'll catch anyway. And I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'll go 5 in this one. So, because there's movement in it, because I'm not spending the time, but you see now you're beginning to get kind of shapes that are crisscrossing. That looks good. So 3 here. 1, 2, 3. So you can have this going on around and around and around. So what I've got there, and that's a piece of elm that I did that with a bit more time, and it's still not perfect, but again, like I said, it's handmade, and you can see what I'm looking to do. One thing you do need to do is when you do that cut, just do it once. So this is my first time trying this out, and you can see that there's a couple of double edges and everything on it, but it's done. And I've hollowed that out. I'll show you how I hollow out a sphere in a few minutes. It's not great, but it'll do. It's fine. But I'll pass that around. So that's one way. Another way is showing how it goes. We go for teeth. Super. So you can pass that around there. Thanks, guys. So just a bit of show and tell. So I've shown you one way of doing it. This is another way of just catching just every so often. So you can see that on the camera. And how I do that is pull out my tool rest a little bit. And I'm going to use just the edge. So I'm not going to do it now because the chances, of course, because I'm doing a demonstration, that would definitely fly. It's never flown on me, but typically the day you do, it would. So it's turning like that, and all I'm doing is catching just that one spot as it goes. And all I just keep moving around, and I catch a new bit, and then just a little black marker, and you just colour it in. And I've hollowed that one as well, just to kind of show you. So I'm going to show you how I hollow now. Thank you. So that's just a different way, so I'll pass that one around as well if you want to just have a look at that. Again, it's just a different look at it. So how I hollow out then the piece, I use a donut chuck. So that's just a solid ring. I'll show you why I've cut the centre out of it, but it's a solid ring that's got an inside spigot, like a mortise spigot for my chuck, and then the outside, then I've just got a circle taken out of it, but it's tapered, it's rebated inside, and you'll see why. So that just goes onto my chuck like this, just goes into it. that's dead flat. Sphere can go in, so where I want to put the hole, I can just line it up. So that's why I've taken a divot out of the inside here as well, because what will happen is the sphere will just fall into the middle of that. I'll pick my point, bring my tailstock up to it, so my live center will go into that point, so that's going nowhere. So I've got my place there. And then I can just bring my donut chuck around. These are just gutter bolts and just a wing nut. So again, you can have a look at this when I'm done with it, but it's a fairly simple setup. Bring it around here.
You've got to keep your eye on it because it might disappear on you.
You might, yeah. Again, like this is a homemade one. It's not very, price-wise, by the time you get it all together, it's not expensive. So try and keep the face of it a little bit in line. It doesn't have to be perfect. Now I have 3, not 4 holes, because what that means then is, as I tighten one, it's pulling the other ones. Whereas if I had 4, as I tighten one, it'd only be pulling that one and not the fourth, the far corner. So having the 3, it's like a tripod or like a 3-footed stool that you've got more balance on it. So I can see there, it's hitting my thumb there, so I just need to tighten that a bit. And just with a Jacob's chuck, or if you're lucky enough to get, I have an M2 drill bit. So. And I just need to measure, and then I just use a little whiteboard marker because I can wipe it off when I go. So we'd say the thickness of it is about 88. So I want to go about, I suppose 82 would do. So if I just use a whiteboard marker, mark 82. So it means then when I'm done with it, I can just wipe it off again. So the whiteboard marker is very handy for that. So just mark 82. So that's how deep I need to go.
Here on.
Yeah.
Could you use a fastener bit?
Of course you can, yes. And like that's what I'm saying. I'm just lucky enough to have these M2 drill bits I got out of the metalwork room in my school. So just a Jacob's jaws, Jacob's chuck, and a fastener bit, or even an ordinary wood bit that's wide enough. And like the wider you go, the easier your tool is going to go in. But so yeah, absolutely. You go nice and slow. Don't go too fast when you're drilling, because you're only going to be burning it. And it's just, and like I said, I have my mark there. I know how deep I want to go. Just clear it out every so often. Clear out the curve. Weird. Say again?
Sorry for talking.
No, you're good, you're good.
What age groups are you teaching in the school?
Secondary school, so 1st year to 6th year. Yeah, yeah. And it's all woodwork, it's not just wood turning, it's all, so yeah, so it's everything done. So that's ready, that'll be done like that. Then just using a hollow tool, just a little hook tool. And I'm not going to do any hollowing because that is the most boring thing to watch in the world. But hollowing tool, you always have your tool rest back a bit, so the bend is not going to be, because if you have it on the bend, it'll drop. So have it there, and basically digging out, digging out, digging out. I use then, when that fills up, anybody who does do hollow form, any hollow forms or hollow turning, where's the, oh, there. So two ways I clear out the gunk that's in there. I just use this little, it's just a little bit of metal, and you can go in there and clear out all the shavings. Or else I have this little hoodie. And what that does, these are great around the shed even. You want to clean off a shelf. Have your dust extractor, your hoover or whatever, and just have it ready and blow down your thing and it'll catch all the dust. It's great for cleaning flat surfaces, so if you want to have a look at that.
Is that a Temu, John?
Temu, yeah, or you'll get them in Amazon as well. If you're not fond, have a look at that as well. That's very, very important, very expensive and technical piece of equipment. So that's how I would just hollow out that, so that would work for that. The other thing I use this, and some people have seen this before, I've shown you how to do this. So just hold it for a second and it'll switch off. So something I saw years ago on Pinterest, a guy called Vivian Grandouille, and he makes these spheres, but he does these little mini bowls all the way around. And so that's something that kind of intrigued me. So that's just a bit of oak. Oak or ash works really, really well. You've all seen how you do that, where you burn the hell out of the wood and then get a wire brush and it takes out the softened wood. And then what I did to blacken it more is I use Indian ink to give it a perfect blackness. So I have it fully black. And then what I do, which one am I working on? So I'm working on one at the moment like that. So I'm taking out each one at a time. I'm following the grain. That's just one thing I do is I follow the grain. So it means then that there's a flow to the wood, flow to it. So I can put that in. A bit more. So let's say there's one circle there, if you can see you on this camera here, there's one circle, and I want to move it over a little bit. So just use my tailstock. This out of the way. So I want to put my next hole, let's say there. So just lock it in place first, bring this here. Donut chuck. Nice and tight. Doesn't have to be in line or anything like that, as long as it's just holding it. Bring this back. Spot the kids, huh? Hold it down for 2 seconds, 3 seconds, and it switches off. You always know the bald kids in the class, don't you? So that's ready now to go, and all I've got to do then is just with my spindle or bow gouge, spindle because it's so small. Bit of speed. Start off in the centre, just take a little bit out. stop it every so often, have a look and see what you've got. So again, if you're looking at this camera here, you can see I'm not quite there yet. I can go a bit bigger. I can definitely go a bit faster because it's tearing rather than cutting for me. So it should be in the prior bowl. At this stage, yeah, so I'm in the other one. Now, just to give it a clean up, little half round scraper, just put it 2 rests above the centre and just give it a bit of a clean up. And then hand sand. So the cloth back sandpaper is much better for doing something like this than the paperback. It's just because it's more pliable, and you just would sand that down then. And when you've got that one done, you move to the next one. You move to the next one. I'm not going to do that. This has been going around for a long time. So just to show you how it's done, or that it is done, that's one. So that one was made of oak. Gorgeous for the boat because as I cut it started shrinking, or as I burnt it started shrinking. So it actually added to it when you see the little cracks in it. It gives it a lot more light. And then that's a piece of ash. You can blow dry your hair and everything with that. That's a piece of oak, that's a piece of ash. The ash kind of stands out a little bit more than the black, and it definitely, when you go with the wire brush, the texture comes out better with the ash than the oak. It doesn't fight the burning as much, so it's lovely. And I've hollowed that out as well, so that gives a bit of lightness, whereas that's pretty heavy. So you can see that, the different versions. And so, messing with that, with the donut chuck, you can have so many different things going on. That one there, a little bit of laburnum, and what I did was I just went with the sapwood. So, sorry, can you see that there? Just went with the sapwood on that. So what I did was I just went different corners on it. This piece of ash here, I did my ring, and then I moved it over and I did another ring, and then I moved it over and did the last ring. So, and then I just colour them in. I don't colour wood, but I just thought for this piece here, it just stood out a little bit better. So there's different ways of doing it again. That's another one there where I hollowed at both sides, and then I just went with loads of different ways of going with it. So I'll pass them around. We're getting loads to look at today. Let's pass them around there as well. Okay? And a different way. So this one here, I saw this done in pottery, and I said, oh, I wonder can I do it out of wood? So again, it's just in the donut chuck, and I did a new circle. And then I moved it over a bit, did a new circle. Then moved it a little bit this way, did a new circle. And then I hollowed it out as well. And again, a lovely bit of yew where the pattern or the feature is in the sapwood, and yet the hardwood then kind of stands out. So that's lovely on one of these little stands, if you have it just sitting at an angle where you're seeing everything going on. So that's another way of playing around with the donut chuck. And the last thing for showing you with the donut chuck, this is great if you have kids or grandkids going and graduating from school. So the 2 little eyes were done in the donut chuck. I made a little bowl, made a little hat, and you have a little owl for your graduate. Now Paul Howard does it, you've seen them, they're all done. Paul Howard did one years ago in the seminar, so it's kind of from that idea, and I just went, same thing. That's just a tassel, I bought that in Hickey's or somewhere like that. So again, a lovely little idea, and you can tilt the head, you know, reaching for the stars, looking up to the stars. or, oh jeez, I failed. So you can mess around with it. So again, different way of looking at the piece of wood or doing the sphere. Last one I'm going to show you now, and again I'm going to demonstrate this, or a bit of it, is, so a few years ago, you've all had Tom Larkin here, I think, for demonstrations. And he did, I don't think he did it with you guys, but he did it with us. He did a Cooksa bowl. Do you know what a Cooksa bowl is? Anybody ever hear of that? It's a cup, a Cooksa cup. It's from Scandinavia and it's carved. So he showed it and he turned the inside. And of course, as Vinny said, 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm awake and I'm going, I want to turn a Cooksa cup, 100% turn it. Is it possible? And like 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm going through how do I work it out, and I did figure it out. So I did that because in Craig Kujek, what we do is next month we make what we showed this month. What I did this month, you would have to make for next month. So I did that for the competition. Of course, I didn't win, but I still, as far as I'm concerned, I won because I was able to turn it 100%. So this is a sphere. This is the tip, the end that I had left. And then what I did was I just went with a bandsaw. So that's 100% turned, except this bit here. What I'm going to show you now is 100% turned, including the handle. So something very simple like that. So I'm going to pass them around and I'll show you how I do it.
What's the colour again, Kieran?
Cooksa, K-U-K-S-A, Cooksa cup, or Cooksa bowl. They're used not so much for drink, but for stews or whatever else because they stay warm, and it's a kind of a forest thing. So same thing. I had my sphere on the end. So I have, you can see there, I have the sphere in the end, but instead of getting rid of this, I'm making a little handle. So I've used a longer piece of wood. My blank is a little bit longer, so I've got space, I've got a bit of room to make that little handle. So I make that handle instead of getting rid of it. So I have my sphere, and again, I've done that. Now, when I was doing, I want to keep the middle the whole time. So I've always been penciling in the middle. So as you sand it, or as you use the scrapers, that middle would go. So again, another good idea is when I was using my scrapers, before I did, just with a whiteboard marker on my tool rest, I marked the center. So can you see that there? The center is marked. And then once I drop it, now I can do all my scraping, whatever way, tool rest isn't in the way, and then when I'm done, I can bring this up again, get my pencil, and I've marked my center. Then what I do is, I want to get, so I'm going to have my cup here. Reason why I'm going to have my cup here is, this is the sapwood of the oak, and I see there's a couple of little, where it had a few tenants, and they were probably paying the same price as as our poor kids have to pay on their rent, but so they had to move out as well. So there we had a little bit of woodworm. So I want to get rid of that. So that's going to be the head. I've written it down there. That's going to be the tail. So how did I get marking from there to there? One way you can do it is just have it and using your index system and your lathe. If you don't have that, line up your tailstock. Line up the point of your tailstock with your tool rest so the pencil is right on line. bring it over, lock it into place, mark it, bring your tool rest around to this side, and mark there. Don't try and turn the whole piece, use the tool rest, because it means then that this is staying in the same place, and it means I know now I've got both ends going there. So that's how that works. Get rid of my waste. So just gonna clear that. Just use my skew now to kind of get to keep that clean. Now I'm not going to try and totally separate it this way. So just get as close as I can into it. Sand that a little bit. Little saw, little Japanese saw. And I can sand that just by, you know, you get a bit of sandpaper onto a plate, onto a faceplate or whatever, and just clean it up or whatever. Or I can do it a different way. So that's me ready there. I've shown you, I have that marked, the tail, the head. So that's going to be going between those. So I'll do that now. I'll need these jars in a few minutes. So I'm going to use a smaller step center just to get the catch. Tail stuck up. Nice and tight. Because I'm going to be getting rid of wood here and here, so it doesn't matter that I'm denting it so much. Now, you know, you can see there's a danger, there's something flying. So this is where you are thinking, always on, you know, it's in your head that's, but anybody who turns winged bowls, anybody who turns natural edge bowls, anything at all, where there's an imbalance or there's an off, what do? Same as you do even if you're turning a perfect ball, or perfect sphere, or perfect bowl. Keep your hands behind the tool rest, and that will never cause you a problem. So I have my tool rest in here, nice and close. And once I turn, start off slow again. So yes, it's flying, but if I was turning a winged bowl, I'm going to have two of them flying. So I just stay behind here, I'm safe. And that's how we work it. Little spin and gouge again. There we go. And all I'm doing is a tenon spigot, nice and small. I'll get rid of some of the circle. So the further you go, the deeper your tenon is, the bigger this surface is going to be. It's going to be sitting, which is good because it's going to be a cup you want to sitting on something. But for looks wise, you still want it as small as possible. So I've gone that's as small as I'll go. So that's ready now to go. Turn that around the other way. So get rid of my tool or my tail for a minute. Sorry.
Kieran, for the cups of gold, what
Yeah.
finish would you recommend it's going to be used properly?
Yeah, so now I use, the finish I use all the time, I used to use that wood dock, but it's very hard to get now. The carpentry store and Strahan's don't do it at all anymore. Carpentry store every so often get it. So carpentry store now are using one, Ola Natura it's called. It's a German make and it's completely food safe and it's the same thing. It's so wood dock and this Ola Natura, it's hard wax oil is the Ola Natura. So it's a mixture of polyurethane and beeswax. So it's an oil, you can use it like a cloth, you can oil it like you would with a cloth, but the beeswax, what that does is it pulls the oil, pulls the oil in. Polyurethane is just plastic, it's your varnish is made, polyurethane is what your varnish is made from. Polyurethane, your children can chew this corner of your coffee table when they're teething. It's not going to poison them because it's just plastic. So it's completely food safe. It's what in finishes, the poison is not the actual finish, it's the solvent. So what the solvent they use, both wood dock and this Ola Natura, is it's an organic solvent, non-poisonous, completely food safe. And it's a hard finish. So it's great because it does seal the wood and it's completely food safe. So that's the one I would use. Now it's not something, you won't be able to put your whiskey into this because whiskey what will do is because of the alcohol it'll soak into the wood and it'll disappear quicker than you drink it. So that's why I know Joe Laird was making those whiskey barrel little goblets or whatever. I don't know if you saw them, but what he used to do is because it's end grain, the bottom would have been end grain. So what he did was he started taking out the bottom and putting a cross grain end on it, and then filling that then with whatever. If you burn the inside, that makes it waterproof as well, but that's where you're caught with it. These are not great for alcohol, perfect for food or something like that, that's not going to soak in too much. And that Ola Natura works very well. So now I'm ready to go. What I will do, and I always do this anyway, just bring my tailstock up just to start. And it just makes me feel a little bit safer when I do start turning, that if I do get a catch, because this is when I'm going to get a catch, because I'm working on an unusual surface. So that tailstock, the thing isn't going to fly on me. So I'm just going to take out, line up, this is going to be the mouth of my cookset. Don't need to be small because we actually want to get at the food we're drinking or the food we're eating. Just going to get rid of that lid. That's gone. So I need to hollow that out to take away a lot of the bother out of it. I'm going to drill my hole first so we can get the depth. So whiteboard marker, get my ruler. Depth, that's 70, so I would go maybe 64, less than 65 anyway. Now I can get the bottom better, I can scrape it if I want to take a bit more out of it, but this is just to get rid of some of the meat really, to rest out of the way. Now I'm lining that mark, I'm not lining the mark with the hole because I've gone concave. I'm lining with the tip, the top of my bowl. So that's good enough. And then all we're doing now is bolt turning. So two rests right in the middle so I have loads of room to mess around. Tailstock it out as far as we can. So you can see I'm going way over here to get that undercut, and then I'm going to bring it around. I don't want the melt to be too big because I want it to sip it. I want, if I am drinking something out of it, so a nice and small opening anyway. Out of it. So with an undercut you'll always get more shavings building up inside because it's just getting caught on the wall. So stop and start 20 times. Never be tempted, and you know that if you're doing a winged bowl or anything like that, never be tempted to do that while it's moving because you'll end up losing a finger or losing a thumb because this is still there. It's always going to be there. So stop your machine if you want to check your thickness. Alright? So keep going. I could use the light here because it'll help a lot, but I'm not going to because I know how it wrecks the camera, but you know what they're at. It's almost like hollow turning. It's all done by kind of feel, and you know where your physics will be. Now, I'm not going to spend hours and hours doing this. There's plenty wood in there left. Well, how I will finish the inside, I use both a scraper, negative rake scraper. So you can see there, I've got a 45-degree grind there and a 30-degree grind there. So that just makes it easier for me when I'm setting up my grinder that I have. I know the angles. I even have them written down. If you can see there, can you see that? I've written 45, I've written 30, so it reminds me, it keeps me, if I don't use it for a long time, that I know what to set it at. And all I can do then, all I have to do, two rests up a tiny bit. Now a negative rake scraper, you don't have to have it above the center, kind of at the center is enough, because that's the great thing about the negative rake, is you're not caught with those rules of keeping it above and working downwards. You can work up you can work down. That's the thing with braking about the negative brake. So that's one way of getting the inside, or I use one of these, what are they called then? Carbide bits. And same thing, it'll do the same job. Now this carbide bit, it's set at 45 degrees. So when I sit on my tool rest, it's sitting at 45 degrees. So it's already in negative rake already. So I don't need to worry about tilting it or tipping it. Now I would use it, I might tip it every so often, but it'll work really well to kind of get the bottom, get that straight, and then to get the inside as well. And with a bit of time, a bit of patience, you'll get that perfect. So I'm not doing any more on that. There's no need to do any more because I'll do that at home. I'm doing a demonstration again next week and I'm going to use this. So I'll have this all sanded for next week to do the next thing. So I'm going to be doing the old blue Peter on it. Where I'll be able to go. Here's one I made earlier. And things like, you can see there's a natural crack, a little shake there. There's a couple of still little wormholes in there. A bit of stupid glue and sawdust. Fill it up and that'll close it all up and everything, and it'll just look like an extra line on it. So again, I'll be sanding that. So you see, this is only half finished with the spigot on it. You see the ones that are finished. I do take a little bit more time with the sanding. And then how I get rid of the spigot, so there I've got a little U one and I've got the spigot left on it. So I want to get rid of that spigot. Need my other chuck for that. And it's just a little jam chuck. I use these for hollow forms, I use them for vases, whatever it's going to be. And you can see there, I've got my number 1, number 2, number 3. I've just written Axemin because it works on the Axemin chuck that I have at home. I have a different set of chucks at home because I have an old Nova lathe, and so the thread on that is 1 1/4 by, I don't know, 6. It's a weird number, and so you can't get them anymore, so I'm kind of stuck with what I have. So I've got that set up again. Remember I was saying that? Have your number 1, and there I go, and I didn't even do that. But have your number 1 lined up with number 1. And it means then I know it's going into the right jaw, and it's always fitting. A little bit of carpet, that's just a little bit of padding.
Des Kelly carpet is it?
Des Kelly, Axminster. I get it from Axminster itself. So just
do chucks and carpet?
chucks and carpet, they're the best. So just get that in that over. Tight, but not too tight, because if I go too tight, what will happen is as I get smaller there, it'll split the grain and it could bounce on me. So I don't want that to happen. So again, ready to go. And I'm just taking and I've got this, the underneath is concave, So it means that when it's sitting on a flat surface, and if there was a bit of dirt or something like that, I don't have to worry about it. That's as much as I'm going to take off it. Maybe saw a little bit off, grind the rest of it off, and then just sand the bottom. Give it a bit of a clean up. And in fact as well, at this point as well, while your piece is in that position, if you lock your jaws into place, or your lathe into place, where's the there. If I have that locked, I can power sand the top of that now as well. So, or I can just do it by hand, and that makes it so I don't have to be setting up anything else. I can just do that there. Cut that off, sand the bottom, and now I've got my next hooks and cup there. How are we doing for time? What time are we finishing at?
Half or so.
Half or so, okay. Right, I can show you something else then.
You know, what do you call the cups to have for 2 fingers?
That's a pat myself where I should talk on that. Kaish bowl. Quaish. It's a Scottish one, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah, they're Scottish. And you could do it with a sphere as well. Absolutely, it could work very well. Yeah. That's another way of doing it.
Yeah, I know that bowl. No, there's a cup with 2 that you put your 2 fingers in the side.
Oh, you
Have
put.
seen those?
No. What is it?
I don't know. But where you have yours, at the end of it, there's like an S shape.
Yeah.
You put your 2 fingers in it.
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I know that there was a friendship bowl from Scotland. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, but that's. Yeah, I think that's what Pat is calling the Kaish. Yeah, Quaish or Quaish ball or something like that. It's and like Q is not in the Gaelic language, so I don't know where that's coming from. Just to show you, because somebody asked me this earlier. So when I am making the cooker bowl, and I want to have it fitting. Sorry, can I just get the one that still has its tail on it? That one, no, that one there. This one, it's more important. It's more important to have it rounded. So I use these when I do want to get it round. I use one of these templates, and you can see there 46, 47, 48. That's a 47 as well. So I have all different sizes, 44, 49, and because I start off with 100 mil, but if I'm trying to get rid of a crack, I'm trying to get rid of woodworm, I'm trying to get rid of, or I get a catch, suddenly it has to be a little bit smaller. So I'm just using these then, just to make sure, and especially for the kuksa, because I'm turning it that way, as well as every other way, I want to have it because I don't want to have a huge difference. Now I can see there is, it's a little bit thinner there than it is there, but it's not too bad, because to get it a perfect sphere, it has to be perfect to get a perfect circle there. Now I'll just sand to make it look perfect. I can just sand that to get it right. But it does, so just use one of these. So that looks like a 48. And I would have been going around all the way to get that perfect as well. So that's another way of showing you. So I'll just pass a couple of these around and you can see them. I cut them at exactly a semicircle, and then I just take a little bit off there. So it's not going full semicircle, it's an arc rather than a semicircle. In other words, it's not a full, because it means then when it is sitting, if this is in the way, I don't have to worry about that it's not going to be perfect, and it sits on as well then. So you can just have a look at that.
Kieran?
Yeah.
One of those cups is made from you. Yeah?
Yeah.
How do you make that
Same thing, food safe, coat.
They get coated enough.
Yeah, and it should be okay. Because now, to how much, to what extent, I don't know. The more I'm reading into it, the more it's not poisonous as a statutory piece of wood or a static piece of wood. It's the dust, it's the berry, it's the leaf. We're never going to be working with the berry or the leaf anyway. That's where most of the poison is in it. The bark isn't great, and then once you get into the wood, it's not as bad. Yes, the dust would be, but once it's a static piece of wood, it's pretty okay. And again, once you coat it with a finish, that finish now is what you're actually is in contact with the food, not the actual wood, you know. So that's where that would work, and that's where it helps.
How did you make the templates?
The templates, just a scroll saw or a coping saw, and just making sure. So if you're using a coping saw and you're not great with it, cut it away from the line and then sand it to the line. And that's, you know, so you get it. That's what I do with a lot, even my compass to market, and then just cut it and sand it down if you want it right. The scroll saw is great if you have one of those because you can get it right on the line. If not, a coping saw, and or else just use like a bit of hard cardboard and cut it with a scissors. You know, it doesn't, that's only because I'm using them over and over again. I make them out a bit of plywood or a bit of hardboard does the job as well. But the plywood works, a bit of cardboard will do the job as well, and just scissors it off. Or a knife, will you get it exactly on the surface. So the last kind of one, that's another piece. So again, that was done in the what do you call it, in the donut chuck, and instead of taking divots out, I just took straight pieces out of it. So I can pass that one around. That's again, it's just another show and tell. And this one here then is just me playing. So that was a sphere. I broke it up into 12 equal parts, and then I just went with the Dremel, started digging out each groove, and then it's hand sanding. This is great therapy. If you have nothing to be doing and you're sitting down, especially with the summer we've just had where we could sit outside, the shed was actually too warm to work in. This was lovely to just be sanding and get that. So, and again, I'll hollow that out just to.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next one. Bye.